Well, Volodia, thank you so much for being willing to spend a bit of time with me. Perhaps you could help us understand the situation and give us some prayer points, but maybe we could start. Could you just describe the situation where you are in the western side of Ukraine, in Ternopil? What's the situation there? Are you seeing hostilities there, or is it still relatively peaceful?
Well, it's a pleasure to have an opportunity to talk to people in the United Kingdom. And I must say this first. It wasn't planned, but I must say this first. Our people in Ukraine very much grateful for the support of people in the UK. This is the country that not only talk about it, but actually give um, real help in this very difficult time we are experiencing in our country. I live with the family. We are living in the western part of the country, which for some would be considered as the quiet, and it is a quiet. Although you can tell there is a war even here. Like we have a checkpoint 150 meters from our house, and military all around. People are very, very serious, but there is, although there is some kind of uncertainty in the air, but there is no fear that we are taken by surprise with an enemy. People are very serious, and they are very keen to do all they can in order to survive and actually to stop the war. So we are living in Ternopil, which is my hometown, and we hope Ternopil will be a safe place for people who are now, because of horror of the war, must find another places for their new lives. And we've seen a lot of people during last 2 days coming to Ternopil, or through Ternopil actually, going further west, whether it is in Ukraine or in Europe. Some of them were staying with us this night. We providing some shelter for them, and they continue in the morning their way, actually to their homes in Carpathian area.
Thanks, Volodia. You mentioned then refugees, and I expect you're expecting a lot of refugees coming to Ternopil from the east of Ukraine. Are you planning to help refugees in the churches? And if so, what are your main concerns there and constraints?
Yes, I would say Ternopil probably the place with the smallest number of evangelical churches in Ukraine. But although we are few, but we are quite well organized, and it's not just for my credit, because actually that's what is happening among us. We organized in such a way that we could help people who have difficult time right now to find not only some kind of rest during their trip, but actually to have a place where they can have a fresh some refreshments in their spirits.
Perhaps I can ask if you could give us a sense of what Christians in Ternopil are feeling and thinking. Are they concerned for their own well-being? I suspect many will have relatives and friends in the eastern part of Ukraine.
Uh, yes, we are afraid of our own well-being. You know, we are human, and many people have relatives all around Ukraine, in Kiev, in central Ukraine. Uh, my wife Oksana, she is from central Ukraine, 500 kilometers from our home. And on the first day of the war, um, I got news from the news that place where his mom lives in were attacked by the Russians missile, and I couldn't believe, because it's still 500 more kilometers to the Russian border from her place. So we have many people living in all around Eastern Ukraine, and they do afraid of the how things will develop. But from another point, our people really very much sure that they will fight for their life, because they didn't go to another country with invasion. They were invaded, and that's true. They didn't look for anyone's property, but they are taken their own property taken from them through the missiles, through the bombing, and doing in very brutal ways. So although we are afraid, it's normal for human, we are also brave enough to fight for that. But actually what I would say differ Ukrainians, they also realize that they are people under God. Our Ukrainians are very religious people, and here where I would say this is the good thing.
Thanks, Volodia. Perhaps you could just give us a few prayer points for Ukraine and for the Christians in Ukraine.
Yes, it's. I appreciate really people whom I talk to when I say a lot of people from other countries praying for Ukraine. They are very, very grateful for this. So I appreciate. We do thankful for your prayers, and we would ask to pray for us. We the first I would say pray for Ukraine to be Ukraine. Pray for Ukraine to be a sovereign state. And why it's so important? Because Ukraine, after 1991, when Soviet Union collapsed, Ukraine is the country which has the best law on religious freedom ever since, which was very good in sense of spreading the gospel during that time. Religious freedom give much freedom in the proclamation of the gospel to people, and that's why number of new churches were happened during that time. And another second probably from this, in order for this to be, I would ask to pray for our military who is fighting the enemy at the moment. I would ask to pray for our authorities, president, government, because the enemy, he is evil one. What he is doing right now, he is sending his troops in the uniform of Ukrainians. They are parachuting from their helicopters and act as Ukrainians, but actually they are enemies. And in the same time, he is appealing from Kremlin and saying, military, take power into your hands and we will recognize you. This is a terrorism. This is brutal. So I would ask that our government will be protected, and our civilians also, and that they would be able to support the military, the government, and actually they would have some comfort. Those who already suffer of the terrible reality of the war. I would ask to pray for our church, that it would remain a good witness to society, especially in this time, that it will meet the needs of the people, spiritual needs, and also able to provide some practical help, like shelters, like food, anything, and also be able to encourage not only ministers who can do it, but any member of a church could talk to neighbor, to his friend or relative, and have words that can support them. That's what all Christians could do, and I would ask that you would remember the church in this too.
Well, thank you so much, Volodia, for sparing some time. Please do be assured of our prayers. Many people in the UK are praying for you, both for you in specifically in
Thank,
Ternopil, in Grace Church there, but also for Christians in Ukraine. So please do be assured of our continuing prayers and love and support.
thank you. Thank you. God bless you.